everyone, it's Maisie. Thanks for joining me today as I interview the wonderful Jen Ellison, a volunteer for the nonprofit Days for Girls. Before jumping into the interview, I want to remind you all that this month's theme at the Confidence Stitch is It's a Colorful Life. And the giveaway this month is our custom fat quarter bundle of cotton and steel rainbow fabrics and the Quilter's Field Guide to Color, which is a book by Rachel Hauser from Stitched in Color. To enter to win this prize, all you need to do is answer the question, what colors do you gravitate towards? And that's either in garment sewing or quilting. And why do you think you gravitate towards them? Why do you like them so much? All you have to do is answer that question in the comments below to be entered. Also, today's Confident Maker shout out goes to Holly at Perrier Projects for her gorgeous ebb and flow quilt. She used fabrics from our Folk Friends collection, and as you can see, she took a little ski with her quilts, which I love because both her quilt and the backdrop perfectly sum up It's a Colorful Life for me. So great job, Holly, and thanks for sharing. All right, now let me introduce you to the woman of the hour, Dr. Jen Ellison. Dr. Ellison is an associate clinical professor of nursing for the MSU nursing program based here in Missoula. She is also a volunteer and co-founder of the Missoula Days for Girls team. Welcome, Jen. We're so glad to have you.
Sure. First of all, thank you so much, Maisie and the Confident Stitch, for inviting me to your program today. I'm really excited to share information about this program. I first learned about Days for Girls, which is a global nonprofit organization that has as its mission to end what's called period poverty around the globe. So 50 million girls and women and individuals who menstruate face period poverty. They don't have the supplies that they need to address their monthly hygiene needs around menstruation. So I first learned about this program it was January of 2018. I was attending a global health class at the University of Montana, and the guest speaker was talking about this program. And I really had an epiphany as I was listening to the very articulate speaker about this program, and didn't realize that there were women and girls around the globe who didn't have the products they needed. And to not have the appropriate menstrual hygiene products was limiting girls' abilities to go to school or maybe to go to work, or opportunities, limiting opportunities that were coming their way. And I was really kind of embarrassed about that. I mean, I know when I was in college, I had some financial stressors, and maybe I wasn't able to afford the products that I wanted, but I could still afford some products. But the thought that there are girls and women across the globe who at times might need to sit on a piece of cardboard for 5 days or a week out of every month, or use banana leaves or trash as their supplies. And that can be not only limiting, but can create health conditions. You know, there can be genitourinary infections that occur and stigma, and it can lead to increased abuse for girls. So I really came away from listening to that program quite charged up about what I could do to try to make a difference in girls and women's and individuals who menstruate in their lives. You know, what can we do?
Absolutely. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. You had told me a little bit about that when we first met, and it did the exact same thing to fire me up. I can't believe that there are women around the world, people around the world, who have to sit on cardboard for a week out of every month. It's just horrible. So we need to do something about it.
Yes.
What did you have to do to become a certified volunteer?
Well, when I came home from listening to that lecture, again, I was pretty fired up about this, really feeling passionate. And I went on to the Days for Girls website, which is just all one word, daysforgirls.org. And they have a fabulous, very well coordinated and easy to use website. And I looked at they have a map that shows where all of the Days for Girls teams and chapters are located around the globe. And I saw that there was a team, there are several teams in Montana, including one in Kalispell, but there wasn't anything in Missoula. And I contacted the Kalispell people, who were, oh my gosh, so lovely and generous and gracious. And they were in the middle of trying to create 125 kits to be sent, I believe it was to an orphanage or a school in Kenya. So I went into the website and I registered as a solo soloist is what they call it. So once I was registered with the Days for Girls organization, I was able to get access to the patterns that we need for the kit components and instructions about how to put the different components together. And I ended up, because I knew eventually I wanted to establish a team in Missoula. In order to do that, somebody in the team has to have all of their kit components sort of quality certified by Days for Girls. So I went ahead and did that and was able to contribute that first year. I think I made 25 kits that were then included with the Kalispell package that went to Kenya. And it felt really rewarding to do that. I'll also say I'm not the world's best seamstress. One of the first things I had to do was to learn how to thread the serger, which I tell you, it still leaves me, in fear and trepidation. In fact, a thread broke over the weekend, and I was like, I had to get out my magnifying glass and try to get that thing threaded again. But it felt really good to be able to contribute to that first distribution going to Kenya.
Yeah, that's so awesome. So actually, I'm going to jump ahead a little bit in our question order. Would you mind taking us through one of the kits and showing us all the pieces that go into one?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So first of all, this is what the kit component looks like that a girl or a woman or someone who needs these products would receive. And you can see on the outside, there's a tag, and that tag indicates whether or not this is a regular kit or a kit that's been constructed for someone who has a heavier flow. Also on the outside on this tag, it indicates what size underwear is included in the kit. So now we'll look inside one of these kits and you'll get a chance to see everything that's in here. Starts with a drawstring bag that girls can use for any of their daily needs. They can take it to school, they can put their school books in here. And each one of the drawstring bags has a Days for Girls label on it. The Days for Girls organization is very conscientious of the high quality that needs to be considered when these kits are put together. They want them to last at least 3 years. So there are some specific instructions about what type of fabric you can use, and they want all of the kits to have that label on there so that girls know if they run out of something that's in that kit, who they can contact to get additional supplies. So we'll look inside here, and what we see is a nice little bundle. And the first thing that pops out is an instruction kit. So this is a way for girls to track their cycle for, I think it's about a year's worth of tracking. And then on the back side, there's information about how to use the kit itself. How do you care for it? How do you put the liners inside the shields? That sort of stuff. Each kit comes with 2 shields. Let me see if I can pull one out here so I can show it to you. 2 shields that have a snap at the back, right? So this can snap into a girl's underwear, securely snap. This one is loaded up with 2 liners because sometimes you have a heavier flow than other days and you might need to put 2 liners inside your shield. And there's a bar of hotel-size soap because we want girls to be able to keep themselves clean, and perhaps the soap is the only product they have to use as they're cleaning their used liners. So each kit has 8 liners. So they're all going to be packaged up in here. 8 liners, 2 shields, 2 pairs of underwear, all rolled up, and the paper has been taken out of the inside. A washcloth. This one's a little bit bulkier than what I usually like to include in here, but it's what we have, a washcloth. What's called a pod. So the pod is actually your second liner. That has just one single pad inside here. And what I like about this pod, this is something that's kind of new, is that it can fold up to be something that's quite unobtrusive, right? You could just put this easily into your school bag and take it with you to school and have a spare shield and liner.
Yeah.
And all of that gets put into, this is a new addition to the Days for Girls kit. These are called transport bags. So as you can see, they're lined with a PUL fabric. So this is a waterproof fabric. And this can close over the top and create it's called a transport bag. And girls can put their used pads in here. They can also use this as a container. You can put water in here and soap, and you can use this as a place where you would wash your used pads. I also wanted to mention that the shields themselves are all lined with a PUL fabric also. So those shields are going to be waterproof also. So 8 liners, 2 shields, 2 pairs of underwear, a washcloth, instructions, and this little transport bag, all are included in a kit. So what the Days for Girls experts suggest is that each kit costs about $10 to make. And what they mention is that expert sewers, which is not me, should be able to put an entire kit together after the material has been washed and ironed and cut out. They should be able to put an entire kit together in about 2.5 hours. I'll tell you, it takes me longer to do that just because. But yeah, lots of really fabulous things included in those kits. And for some of the recipients of these kits, this might be the first time they've ever owned anything that is just theirs. So we want these kits we want to use fabrics that make girls and women and folks who need these supplies feel good about themselves. And we certainly want them to be durable. Yeah,
absolutely. So there are patterns to sew all these elements aside from the underwear and the washcloth. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes, that's correct.
Awesome. That's so great. Why reusable menstrual products instead of like tampons and pads?
That's a great question. And when Days for Girls were first started in 2008, they did supply women and individuals in need with disposable products. And what they found was that the disposable products quickly became litter and clogged up pit latrines. So unless you have a place that you can, in an environmentally healthy way, dispose of the products, they were just becoming litter. And there are several countries, for example, I think it's Kenya, in 2017 banned, for example, plastic bags. So that's why that transport bag became a part of this, of the kit. It used to be we put things in Ziploc bags, but trying to be very aware of and comply with different regulations from different countries, nothing plastic. There are also countries where women are discouraged from putting things inside of their bodies. So tampons wouldn't work. I do know that Days for Girls can also distribute menstrual cups, but only I think 1/3 of the receiving countries would use those. But if there are people know of places, prisons or schools that could use, or homeless shelters that could use those, menstrual cups, we're able to get those and distribute those also.
Yeah. I really like the reusable component of this. I mean, even though we're talking about less developed countries, I think that we in America and more developed places, we take for granted that we can throw away menstrual products when we could reuse them as well. I think it's actually a direction we should be going. So it's kind of, I don't know, it's a nice way to start thinking about it a little bit differently, not only to help people, but help our earth, you know?
Sure, yeah, the more sustainable, the better. So
Yeah.
these kits are designed to last about 3 years. And in fact, I know there was a Days for Girls news flash that came up on the website that somebody had just reported that their kit had lasted them 5 years, which is really
awesome.
pretty amazing when we think about affordability and sustainability.
Yeah, that's so great. So I think this is probably who you were talking about, but you mentioned to me that Sarah Webb had given a presentation at the University of Montana here in Missoula titled Menstrual Health, the Intersection Between Women's Health, Economic Empowerment, and Environmental Impact. Is that the talk that kind of got you thinking about this?
Yes, it is. So at the time, Sarah Webb, and I'm not sure if she's still in this position or not, was the program director for Asia and Latin America. I mean, what a job,
Yeah.
Thank you, Sarah, and for all of the other program directors out there. And when she started talking about this kind of like turning periods into pathways via, education. So whenever kits are distributed, and no matter where they're distributed, there's always a health educator, like a certified women's health educator, that's providing education about menstrual and reproductive health, about personal hygiene, about self-defense, sex trafficking. And there's also programs for men and men's reproductive health, right? We can't forget the men either.
Yeah.
There is there are global partnerships that Sarah described. There are advocacy programs. There are interesting enterprise programs where Days for Girls will provide training and seed money to so that women can have an income generating business where they make and sell affordable kits, maybe in their own community. So I love that big, broad, holistic picture. It's not just for distributing kits, but the advocacy, trying to reduce stigma around a very normal biological process. So there are, I know there was a survey that went out from Days for Girls about a year ago, asking people, what are your areas of interest? Are you interested in trying to stop female genitalia mutilation? Are you interested in trying to get tampons to be identified as non-taxable items? We live in a state in Montana here where we don't have a sales tax, but in some states there is sales tax, and you go to the grocery store and you buy your tampons, those are taxed, even though I think it's an essential item. So lots of different avenues for advocacy around menstrual health.
That's really interesting. Yeah, we have a link to this talk in our description below, so we really encourage everybody to go listen to that, because like Jen says, it'll kind of broaden your horizons. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so you mentioned to me the other day that there's an increased need for supplies in Chad right now. Can you tell us what you and your co-founder Keisha are doing to help with this demand?
Sure. Yeah, thanks so much for asking about that. So Keisha is the co-team lead here for our Missoula team. And I love working with Keisha. She's a University of Montana student, and just has all sorts of different ideas and a lot of energy, and is quite delightful to work with.
Didn't you tell me she's been making soap because you couldn't find any hotel size?
Yes, because of COVID-19, ordinarily people are traveling, they go to hotels, and I always ask people, please save your hotel size soap for us because it needs to go on our kits. But nobody's traveling right now.
Yeah.
So she's just been making soap to go into our kits. So
that is amazing.
A cry for help came out through Days for Girls, maybe 2 months ago. That the country of Chad, which is an African country, it's situated kind of at the crossroads of simultaneous overlapping conflicts, I guess is how I'll describe that. And Chad itself faces chronic poverty issues, but they have been welcoming and hosting 470,000 refugees from the Sudan, Central African Republic, and Nigeria, as well as like 330,000 internally displaced people. So a huge need for products to go to the country of Chad right now. So one of the things that we've done, we really got us motivated. We, during COVID, Keisha and I would sew in our own homes and do things, separately. We couldn't really get together, but decided that we really needed to take some action to answer this call for help from our global sisters in Chad. So about 2 weeks ago, we hosted through the Montana State University nursing program, which is where I work. And we have a campus here that's, interestingly enough, on the University of Montana campus. So the Montana State University students, I get them confused. I've worked for both universities, came together, and we had a morning where, in fact, Maisie, you joined us, where students and others were helping to cut out fabric liners. Keisha and I want to be able to come together with our community and send 100 liners to Chad or to the organization that will get them to Chad by the end of March. So that's what we're working on right now.
Awesome. Well, and so in that effort, at the Confident Stitch, we're kind of speaking out to our volunteers who have helped us with service projects in the past. We've assembled kits that include enough fabric to make 4 liners. So there's a large square that's rounded edges, and then a square or a rectangle that goes inside it called the hot spot. So there's 4 of each of those, thread and paper instructions. And you can go on our website right now and reserve a kit for yourself. They're really easy to assemble. Jen, I'll have you talk about it, and I can show a completed one, while you're talking about it.
Great. So what you're going to do is you'll start with the larger square, and then there's going to be a smaller square that's the hot spot that goes in the middle. So the pieces that you all will receive have already been, the corners have already been rounded. So I just use, in case you want to do this at home, I just use one of these templates, the petal shaped, and that's what I use to round my corners. So the first thing you're going to do is on that hot spot, you're going to serge the long edges. Sorry, I'm like looking in the camera and doing this backward. Maybe serge the long edges. And what I do is, in order to try to save some thread, is I might do 8 of these together. So I have a whole long row of serged hot spots. Yeah. Then what you're going to do is you're going to try to center those wrong side to wrong side on your larger piece of flannel. Mm-hmm. You're going to use your regular sewing machine then, and just sew the hot spot right onto the larger piece of flannel. Mm-hmm. Again, if you're doing a bunch of them, you could do this all, you can have a whole chain of these going. Then what you'll do is you'll serge all the way around the outside. You can see that on the piece there that Maisie is holding up. You're going to serge all the way around the outside. You want to have at least an inch overlap where you started and where you finished. And then you're going to zigzag over that with your regular machine to really make that nice and tight and sturdy. Then these get folded up into a trifold, and this is what's going to be put inside of the shield. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, they're pretty easy. If you can tape your serger, you're going to be great with this. I have many of these that have become dust claws as I was learning how to tape my serger.
Yeah, so the fabric included for these liners is flannel, because that's an absorbent fabric. And I did some research when I was looking into this, and you really do need a serger for this particular element of the kit. They have instructions available where you can kind of make an octagon version of this liner, and you stitch it all around. It's 2 layers. And then you flip it inside out so that everything's enclosed. But it takes more time, and it doesn't dry as quickly, according to the Days for Girls website. So this surged method is really the superior one, and these are what we've included in our kits. So we would love you to participate, but you really need a serger to participate in this particular project. So this kind of feeds in perfectly to that. Something I noticed when reading the instructions is that Days for Girls is really particular about the fabric that's used. Can you tell us why there are so many stipulations and which fabrics are best and which are not allowed?
Sure, that's a great question. And there are a lot of stipulations about the fabric. First of all, they want this kit to last 3 years. So they're interested in fact, require that we use 100% cotton, for example, for the bags, for the shields, for the transport bags, 100% cotton with 100% polyester thread. For the liners that we're talking about today, they ask for 100% cotton flannel using 100% polyester thread. More fun to talk about is the patterns that are chosen. So they want the recipients of these kits to feel good about themselves. They want them to feel that, menstruation is, not this horrible, horrible thing that happens, but this is, part of who we are, and as human beings, and we want to have cheerful and colorful fabrics that are going to hide stains. So we can understand that, right? That makes a lot of sense. But we also have to be careful and very cognizant of some of the, we don't always know where these fabrics and these kits are going to be sent. So for example, we're not going to use a lot of yellow fabrics. You can have yellow in your fabric, but not anything that would be completely yellow, because in some countries, some Asian countries, holy people wear yellow, so we wouldn't use yellow fabric. We're not going to use prints that have faces or eyes on them. In some countries, the eyes can symbolize something different than it does for us. We're not going to use anything with insects or snakes, for example, but butterflies are okay. I was happy to see that butterflies. We're not going to use anything with camo fabric or guns or hunting. No words, no national flags, no glam kind of stuff, no pop culture, TV, cartoon characters, anything like that. So just being very aware of what could be offensive in a country, or just really want to be neutral, I guess, is probably the best way to put that. And yet make the recipients of these kits feel good about themselves. Cheerful fabric that's going to hide stains.
Absolutely.
What's interesting, when we put these kits together, Maisie, the Days for Girls representatives talk about the importance of not trying to match everything up in a kit. So you probably noticed that, when I was demonstrating this kit, the liners didn't always match. The shields weren't always matching. These are different color shields.
Yeah.
And they do that because many people who donate to Days for Girls maybe they only want to make drawstring bags, or maybe they only want to make liners. So when the kits are assembled, there's never any guarantee that everything is going to match. So they want to, let's say these kits are being distributed in a public school, they want, because they can't guarantee everything's going to be matching for every single girl, they ask us to almost intentionally just mix things up a little bit.
Yeah, that's good to know. Of course, we're hoping volunteers will help us with this short-term demand for liners, but how can Missoula locals get involved in your Days for Girls team in the long term? What are your hopes and goals, I guess?
Oh my gosh, we would love that. Right now, we are like probably the tiniest team on the globe. We're a team of two. And have had a handful of people who have volunteered every once in a while, but we would really, really love to grow our team. And the best way to contact either Keisha or myself, the Missoula team, would be through that Missoula is our website. So it's Missoula, Montana, MISSOULAMT at daysforgirls, all one word, .org. Yeah, we are really pleased with the opportunity that we hope will come our way soon when we can get COVID tamed a little bit, to link arms with the Confident Stitch and perhaps be able to work together and provide a workspace so that volunteers can get together and cut fabric together and sew together. It's really fun to have a group of people coming together and working on this project.
Absolutely. Yeah, hopefully when more people are vaccinated and things are under control, we can offer up our classroom space. So if you're interested in this, please keep on the lookout, because we're going to try to pull that together in the near future.
Yes.
So how can people who aren't located in Missoula get involved? You said it's an international program, so is there a way they can look into their own region?
Oh, yes, absolutely. So on that Days for Girls website, I talked about the big map they have. And that's where I would start. If you live in Idaho, for example, I know that there are Days for Girls teams and Days for Girls chapters. And I think in order to be a chapter, you have to have distributed X number of kits. So we are still a team, but we're working towards that. You can easily find where there are teams and chapters near you. And every team and every chapter has a web page or an email link, just like we do. And I would really, really encourage you to reach out and just let people know that you're interested in contributing somehow. There's lots of ways you can contribute. I know that our Northwest representative, she always says, I don't know how to sew, but I'm really good at organizing people. And I'm really good at putting these snaps on these shields. So I'm usually the whippersnapper. I'm the one who's putting the snaps on the shields. Or I'm the one who, after someone has serged that liner, you know how you have to pull those threads in order to tighten things up? I'm the one that pulls those threads and tightens them up, and I'm the one that tri-folds them and makes sure that there's no loose springs on them. So there's lots of ways to be involved. You don't have to be a super sewer, thank goodness, because I'm not.
That's awesome. Okay, so that's all I really have. Thank you so much for chatting with us today, Jen.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was our pleasure. For those watching, you can find the link in the description below that'll take you right to our website, and these kits, as well as everything else we talked about in this video, will include links down there. Remember, all completed liners need to be returned to the Confident Stitch by Monday, March 29th, because Jen is hoping to send them out by the 31st. So we would love for you to participate, but we want to make sure we get them out in time. You can find more information about this organization at daysforgirls.org. And if you like the interview, we encourage you to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks again, Jen. And tune in Saturday at 9:30 for Kate's interview and discussion of quilt color theory with Chris Milodragovic. So thank you and have a great day.